Most retirees think that required minimum distributions are just an inconvenience. They're a form to fill out, a withdrawal to be made, a tax bill to pay. But did you know that even one required withdrawal can trigger a chain reaction that touches almost every part of your retirement plan? This could lead to higher taxes, obviously, but how about more of your Social Security benefits becoming taxable? What about higher Medicare premiums potentially? And in some cases, thousands of dollars disappearing each year without retirees fully understanding why. And I've seen people spend decades building retirement savings only to discover that their largest tax problem wasn't while they were working, it was actually after they retired because they had less control they thought of it. And the frustrating part, many of these problems could have been reduced years earlier with the right planning. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the RMD domino effect, how it works, why it catches so many retirees off guard, and what you can potentially do now to get ahead of it. Hi, I'm Chris Knight with Cornerstone Wealth Planning. We don't just look at RMDs in isolation. We coordinate them with your withdrawal strategy, your tax planning, Social Security timing, investment account, organization, healthcare planning, and your long-term estate goals. We bring all this together into one integrated retirement plan built around your specific situation. And if you'd like help understanding how future RMDs can affect your plan, there's a link in the description where you can schedule a free call with our team. Okay, let's start with a very common misconception. Many people believe that taxes go down automatically in retirement. The truth is, sometimes they do, but oftentimes they don't. In fact, many retirees experience what I call retirement tax surprise. So, an example could be helpful. Let's consider a couple who retires at 62. Their income drops, they delay Social Security, they have money sitting in IRAs and 401ks. For several years, their taxable income is relatively low and everything looks just fine tax wise. Then they reach RMD age in their 70s. Suddenly, it's the IRS who says you must start taking money out of these tax deferred accounts, whether you need it or not, and whether you want it or not, whether the markets are up or not. This withdrawal is required each year, and that's when the dominoes start falling. But the withdrawal itself often isn't the biggest problem. It's what the withdrawal causes. So let's walk through the dominoes, starting with domino number one, higher income taxes. First domino is very straightforward. RMDs will increase taxable income. Let's say a retired couple has Social Security income, maybe they have a pension, and they have a $1.5 million traditional IRA. Now, by the time that the RMDs begin, they may be forced to withdraw tens of thousands of dollars annually. This money is added to their taxable income whether they need to spend it or not. I had a conversation with retirees who tell me something like this: Chris, I don't really need this money from the RMD. And unfortunately, my answer is always the same. The IRS simply doesn't care. The government gave you the tax deferral for potentially decades earlier, and now eventually they want their own revenue share. But the tax bill doesn't stop there, because once taxable income increases, it can set off additional cost in many places that most retirees don't expect. So domino number two, it could increase Social Security taxation. Many people assume that Social Security is simply tax-free. That's not always true. Depending on your overall income, provisional income, different ways this is measured, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can become subject to taxation. And RMDs are one of the biggest reasons that this happens. And here's some reasons why. The IRS uses something called provisional income to determine how much of your Social Security benefits are subject to taxation. So as RMDs push your income higher, more of your Social Security can be pulled into that calculation. Adding to that would be taking a required withdrawal from your IRA. The withdrawal increases that taxable income, and then it causes more of your Social Security benefits to become taxable on top of everything else. So one action, two consequences. This is why we spend so much time helping clients coordinate retirement income sources rather than just evaluating each one on its own. So retirement planning isn't about optimizing one account. It's about understanding how every piece connects to every other piece. So domino number three is understanding those Medicare IRMAA surcharges. Many retirees have just never heard of the term IRMAA until they receive the letter in the mail from regarding this, where it states that they have a higher income level, which is now requiring an adjustment to their Medicare cost on a monthly basis going forward. So, in plain English, higher income could lead to higher Medicare premiums. And lo and behold, these RMDs are one that will cause, at times, the higher overall income, which is technically your modified adjusted gross income, which could lead to higher Medicare premiums. And now it's a quirky calculation that eventually shows up a couple years down the road and looks back 2 years previous. And so that's where it looks like ultimately it can cause more of the Medicare costs to go up. Now, by the time most people connect the dots, the damage can already be done. So this is why we help clients look at this analysis before it's too late and becomes a problem. And this can be very challenging at times to know exactly how this works and the timing and the years to look back to. So there's a link in the description where if you want to have a free call to understand how this process works, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be glad to work through this with you. Now let's take a look at this retirement tax window that is helpful to understand because RMDs aren't always the enemy. The real issue is allowing large tax deferred accounts to grow for decades without a clear taxable understanding of what's occurring and to create tax planning to be a part of your overall distribution plan. So many people spend their working years focused entirely on just accumulation. Let's save more, let's invest more, let's grow more. Now, those are great goals. But at some point, retirement becomes about income and tax planning, not just about investments. And that's one of the things we like to help folks look at and help them understand is that one of the biggest opportunities for clients is what we call this retirement tax window. The years after you stop working, but before RMDs begin. For many retirees, this income picture can be the lowest income levels you may have for some period of time before the RMDs kick in and add to your overall taxable income, raising Social Security income, and other things as well. So this brings us to one of the most talked about strategies in retirement planning from a tax planning aspect, Roth conversions. Now, they're not always the answer, but they are worth understanding. So Roth conversions come up constantly in this context, and it is often for good reason. A Roth conversion lets you voluntarily move money from a traditional IRA into a Roth account. You pay taxes today, but future growth and qualified withdrawals could potentially be tax-free. And those converted dollars are no longer subject to future RMDs. Now, done well, this can reduce future taxable income, it could reduce future Social Security taxation, and potentially limit Medicare surcharge exposure and ultimately create more flexibility later in retirement. But see, here's where many advisors stop the conversation a little bit too soon. They'll tell you to convert, but they don't tell you about the trade-offs. If you convert too much, you could trigger higher taxes today, larger brackets, increase Social Security taxation in the near term, and maybe create Medicare premium increases or even eliminate room for other planning strategies. So the question isn't really, should I do Roth conversions? The better question is, how much should I convert and when? And that really is a completely different conversation, and the answer depends upon your full financial picture. When we work with clients, nothing gets evaluated in isolation. We want to build a retirement plan around 4 key categories: understanding your assets overall, your liabilities or debts, your guaranteed income, and your expenses. From there, we want to identify 3 key numbers. One is the income gap. That's the guaranteed income minus expenses. 2 would be your liquid assets. That's looking at what's available to draw from as needed. And then doing calculation to understand your withdrawal rate. So if we look at Social Security timing, tax planning opportunities, Roth conversion strategy, your portfolio income, healthcare decisions, and estate planning, we want to see this all as part of one coordinated plan. Now, retirement confidence doesn't come from having more spreadsheets. It comes from having a strategy where all the pieces work together. And the biggest mistake that retirees make with RMDs is treating them just as a withdrawal. Instead, they're often just the first domino that could fall. Once it falls, the effects can ripple through your taxes, Medicare premiums, Social Security taxation, and your overall retirement income for not just this year, but perhaps years to come. Now, the good news is that many of these issues can be addressed well before your RMDs begin in your 70s. That is, if you start planning early enough. So, if you'd like, click the link in the description and schedule a free call with our team to do this evaluation. Evaluate your income sources, your tax strategy, your Social Security timing, and your overall withdrawal plan. Identify opportunities to reduce the impact of the RMD domino effect before it starts. Because the goal isn't just to manage the dominoes when they fall, but it's to build a sustainable plan and understand where you see these coming and understand if you're ready for the things that will take impact as these do start. And that's the key, to have this clarity and this confidence as you go throughout retirement. So again, click the link if you're interested in having that free call and for a free evaluation. And again, dominoes could fall. They're important to evaluate, important to know. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.